Today, we're going to talk about collaborations. Collaborations are something that are frequently offered to coaches. Hey, let's collaborate. I'd love to collaborate with you. Quite frankly, because you're in a networking group, right? You're in a networking or a virtual meeting. I find these requests to let's collaborate. I think we could collaborate on something. I find them annoying. Let's just call it what it is. I find them annoying. Because then what happens to me a lot of times is it's somebody who's in a like or an adjacent industry who wants access to my coaches. And that's part of what collaborating is about. They want access to you guys who are listening to the podcast. But they'll say, "Oh, I think we could totally collaborate on some stuff." Okay. We schedule a time, they show up, and they're like, and I'm like, "Okay, tell me what you were thinking." Well, I don't know. I mean, it's just like my clients and your clients are so similar that I think we could. Could what? Could do what? And for a long time, especially when I was first starting my coaching business and first starting to work with coaches, I said yes to a lot of collaboration opportunities. And they will continue to come your way. People will ask you to guest on their their podcasts. People will ask you to participate in summits, or you'll be in groups where you apply to participate in summits, sharing a stage with people, doing a workshop with another person. Collaborations and the opportunity to collaborate is available to you in a lot of different ways. When does it work for you, though? When should you say yes? How do we know whether it's a good collaboration or not? Okay, that's what we're going to discuss today, as well as the theory behind high tides raise all ships, because that's what's ultimately behind this idea of collaboration. High tides raise all ships. We've heard this. Maybe you haven't. Maybe you're too young to know what that means, right? But right when something is going right, it raises everybody up. So let's get together and we'll do a big summit, and we'll raise everybody up. Will it? I have been on summits that are run wonderfully, very well prepared, very well marketed by the summit organizer, priced right, sales and specials offered, ways to get people to the summit are available, as well as well curated speakers, well curated guests, or I'm sorry, speakers, panelists, right? That not only just have a list and have agreed to the collaboration, but that are good at what they do. There's a quality. When we have quality speakers and we have a quality organizer, then the summit likely will be of better quality. That's a crazy idea. I know, France, that's crazy. But when you're first starting out, that statement might seem super obvious. How do we find out if it's quality? And the same is true for the podcasts or the stages or anything like that. Well, you put yourself in the position to understand that you're valuable. If you don't feel like you're valuable and somebody says, "Hey, would you like to be on my podcast?" You're like, "Yes." "Would you like to be on my stage?" "Oh, what an honor." "Yes." And maybe the practice of being on a podcast or being on a stage is enough to make that a valuable experience. But as you start valuing your time, you're going to start wanting to qualify the stages, podcasts, and summits. So, how long have they been doing this? How many summits has this person run before? Here's a great question I love to ask. What's your marketing plan? And if it's super vague, they don't have one. When the marketing plan is, well, everybody that comes and speaks at the summit is going to promote to their list. That's absolutely true. But that is not a marketing plan. How are we going to promote to our lists? What is the summit organizer going to give to us to promote to our list? What kind of assets? What kind of materials? What is going to be available for sharing? What are they personally doing? The summit organizer. Because normally the summit organizer is the person who's making the money from the summit, and everybody else is getting exposure to new people, exposure to new clients. It's kind of like a free workshop, right? You just show up, you do your thing, and maybe you walk away with some clients, but only if there's people there. The same is true with a podcast. I, at this point in my world and in my life, I go and I look at their podcast score over on a little platform called Listen Notes. Or you could probably even do this with ChatGPT. Here's the podcast, here's the person. How popular is this podcast? What's their regular listenership? Please look for all the places it shows up: YouTube, Podbean, right? Apple, Spotify. And probably these days, ChatGPT and AI can do a pretty good job of gleaning that information and letting you know. Know that if you haven't hosted a podcast before, that having an audience, a regular audience of about 100 people, is a pretty decent podcast. Having a regular listening audience of, right, like the top, I'm in the top 50% of all podcasts. They probably have less than 20 people listening each week. There's a lot of podcasts, not a lot of good promotion, because people, again, think that just simply by having a podcast, that is the promotion for their business. No, no, no. Now you've just given yourself another thing to promote. But find out, listen to a couple of episodes, really discern whether or not this is going to be a good use of your time or if it's just practice. And if it's practice, how much energy do you want to throw at it? The idea behind this, high tides raising all ships, that's absolutely true. But when it comes to running a small business, we create the tide. Right? Out there in the ocean, that just happens because of the moon, right? High tide. Woo! But in business, growth and expansion happens because of our efforts, strategies, smartness. If you are collaborating with people, you want to evaluate their efforts, strategies, ethics. There are a lot of business owners that are out there that are kind of, well, let's just call it again what it is. They're like dabblers. Like they dabble in life coaching or they dabble in this business or that business. I've been a dabbler at different times in my life. When I had a couple of babies at home and I was part of a network marketing company, did I put my full wholehearted effort into it? Absolutely not. I dabbled in it. Did my results show that? For show. But did I show up at all the trainings and want to look really good and want to, like want to collaborate with people? Absolutely. But when they were collaborating with me, they were collaborating with a dabbler. And those events didn't go great because I wasn't raising the tide. If you're a person who is a tide raiser, as in you're focused on your business, you're growing it, you're putting the effort in, that's awesome. And a lot of other people are going to want to collaborate with you because what they're hoping to do is to connect their dabbling to your strength and you can pull them up. But it's not your job. That is not your responsibility. If you have a friend and you want to help them grow something, absolutely. But it's not your responsibility. So, High tides raise all ships, but we create the tides. When you choose to collaborate with somebody, evaluate whether or not they are a tide raiser or kind of floating on the lazy river of business.